to the International Institute of Islamic Studies, Nigeria office, Kano. And IIIT is my home. And as the national chairman mentioned earlier, Professor Salisu, I thank you once again, because IIIT published my first book ever, that is Environment and Sustainable Development in the Quran. And that was in the year 2004. And since that time, I think that has broadened my perspectives, my views about my faith, Islam. Most of the time, wherever I go, I try to see what is that about unique, that are unique about Islam that others don't know. And I inform and I say it, and I always find it that people appreciate many things that Islam offers. It is in that light that I'm presenting this topic here. So I think in the first place, to carry my respected audience along, I would like to talk, or rather say something, read, because I am not sure if those controlling the slide, can you go to the second slide, please? I'm not sure that if you can all read this statement. I want you just to listen to me as I read it. And this is from the pens of Lord Lugard, the architect of colonialism, British colonialism in Nigeria. In 1904, the Bulletin of American Geographers published an article by Lord Lugard. And one of the things that he said that time, 1904, is as follows. Kano alone, among cities of Africa, which I have seen, is worthy of the name of city. For its houses are of solid mud with flat roofs, impervious to fire, and lasting through centuries. And he adds, traces of Moorish architecture are visible everywhere. Moorish architecture is actually referring to Muslim architecture. So this is what Lord Lugard said about Kano more than 100 years ago. He recognized it as the only city of all other cities that he has listed in Africa. So as I talk, please keep on reflecting on this. So I know it is a bit hard for some people to know what is Kaleidoscope, because even for pronunciation, somebody was asking me Kaleidoscope, he doesn't understand. So reading my citation, Professor Salisu mentioned that I am transdisciplinary. And that is why I think Kaleidoscope represents transdisciplinary. Now, as a kid, when my parents and relations traveled to Mecca for Hajj or Umrah, they come back with something. And all those things is Kaleidoscope. And when I say it now, you begin to understand what it is. There is something, if you look at it, you see Mecca, and if you turn it this side, you see Medina. Do you recall that? So that is Kaleidoscope. So you see so many things, right, from one object. So that is transdisciplinarity, and that's what you see in Kano, the good, the bad, the ugly. So now, what is a Muslim city? In the first place, Muslim city, Islamic city. I think we should always ask ourselves, what is this? So many scholars have made attempt to define a Muslim city. And at the forefront of these are Orientalists. That's the people who call Mustashriqin, right? So Orientalists have worked to define a Muslim city, though most of the time in negative way. They often have hidden agenda as to how they define a Muslim city. One of the narratives that they put forward is to create division and define Islam as only pro-urban areas, pro-city religion. And so this is aimed at promoting discord between the rural and urban Islamic world. And the ideas of Orientalists cascades down to the media. The media representation of Islam is common, is something that most of us know, though many of us may not be able to recognize. Whatever comes in the headline, if it is a Muslim city, is most of the time negative. Even if they want to show pictures, clips, they tend to portray something, maybe they tend to portray something that is most of the time negative. Now, some of the Muslim planners, policymakers, and scholars as well, who have studied under the influence of Western scholarship, whether knowingly or unknowingly, carry along this virus. And they tend to see Muslim city as nuisance, as incomplete. They're going to look at the essence and the value associated with Muslim city. But then I asked, what is the best idea and practice to define a Muslim city anywhere, and any city even? And in this regard, I said, the best idea ever defined for urban planning, resilience, and sustainability was actually pronounced by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Now, I offer every year, because I teach planning theory, if I go to class, planning theory or advanced planning theory, I try to engage my students about Muslim city, Islamic city. And one of the questions that I ask them is, what is the most important activity that Prophet Muhammad undertook in Medina? And most of the students, this one will raise his hand, other one will raise her hand. What is that? And they will say, build a mosque. Mosque, 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 mosque. I said, I always tell them that, no, I think the most decisive action conducted by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is pronouncing Medina as a haram. That is, first, he wanted to secure the environment from sins, from destruction. Many of us would remember the hadith by Anas, where Prophet Muhammad curses anybody who innovates bad things into Medina, right? And he even established this sanctuary, the haram, which extends to 40 kilometers. No cutting of trees, no poaching. It's haram, it's illegal. And this is the best thing that has happened to humanity in human history. Through this pronouncement, Prophet Muhammad has secured peace in Medina, banned bloodshed, and many Muslim cities reflect on this value. I know, as my dear respected scholars, teachers know better, Prophet Muhammad reflected on Makkah, right, as a haram, which Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, through his Prophet Ibrahim, declared as the haram. It's very interesting. I read a manuscript by a Palestinian scholar, and it is entitled, if I'm not mistaken, Al-Haywanat allati ta'ish في داخل وحول المسجد الحرام في مكة المكرمة. Many of us will go to Hajj, Umrah, but we don't know that around the haram, there are many wild animals in this accessibly dry land. And they owe their existence to this pronouncement of haram in Islam. And this is something that the whole world needs to learn from. So I'm very sure that many other scholars, Muslim scholars, have expanded on this concept. Among them is Ibn Khaldun. In his Muqaddimah, he identified up to 9 criteria for planning cities and towns. And these include town walls. A Muslim city needs to prioritize security. That's why we need town walls. Number 2, strategic location. Number 3, consideration for prevention of air pollution. Kano, the most polluted city in Africa, Ibn Khaldun has foreseen that and advised as to how we should avoid that. Consideration number 4, consideration for preparation of water pollution and infections. Number 5, availability of water for the public. Number 6, pasture ground for domestic animals, land for urban agriculture, etc. Number 8, woodlands for energy and construction activities. And number 9, accessibility and connectivity for external trade. This is how a Muslim city should be. These are the criteria that urban planners should consider. And this is an effort by a Muslim scholar, Ibn Khaldun, way back in the 12th century. So of course, coming down here, we have exciting works, such as that of Abdullah Fodio's Diawul Hukam. In this treatise, Abdullah Fodio identified certain rules which should guide the operations and functions of a Muslim city. And he identified some areas, because the whole idea is that of daf'u darar. Prevention of evil, anything that will cause harm to anybody should be lessened considerably or avoided as a whole. And now, in fact, the Fodios, from Sheikh Usman bin Fodio, Abdullah Fodio, Muhammad Bello, the trio of them have worked a lot on this subject matter. But today I'm just saying something from the Awul Hukam, and I'm happy I can see Dr. Salahuddin Yusuf, who is an authority on, I think, the Awul Hukam. So some of the things that are very interesting, talking about pollution, for instance. Abdullah Fodio suggested that we should try to make sure that we avoid smoke from bars and bakeries, that foul smell from tanner's workshop should be separated from other land use activities. And any act considered to be damaging and is recent within a community, sometime somebody introduces something and it causes harm, that one should immediately be stopped, according to this rule by Abdullah ibn Fodio. Quite a number of them, and I think there are so many works nowadays available even online. I think I will encourage us to find ways of reading these things, not only to read from presentations like this, but I think it's very, very good, because unfortunately, I see that other people are working on these things seriously. In 2020, I came across a new paper written by a French professor on the works of the Sokoto Caliphate scholars, which she calls Urban by Nature. And she tries to bring out some of these contributions made by these eminent scholars. People that we don't recognize them. We are talking about planning crisis while we have the solution at hand and at home. So what is a picture of a Muslim city? A Muslim city, based on these rules identified above, should be compacted and connected, safe and secured, a city that enables citizens to enjoy justice and fairness, and is resilient to human and natural disasters. It is a city where crime and criminal activities are low, a community where water security is attained and promoted. It's a city that has attained food and energy security. It's a city whose economy is resilient and diverse. A Muslim city is a city that separates incompatible land use activities. We must be the most polluted city because we are mixing up so many incompatible land uses. So now, to talk about Kano, I have a new way of doing that. I can see most of you with papers. I hope you have the answers. So it doesn't matter. For 2 weeks, I have been attending a workshop organized by Kerry Institute for Ecosystem Studies in conjunction with Yale University in the US. And I learned new things, new devices of critical thinking, which I'm going to use to explain the situation of Kano and maybe to share that with you as well. And perhaps you may also be using them if perhaps you don't know them. So what they did for us is that intensive workshop. On the first day, the coordinator of the program asked each one of us, about 40 of us, that they call urban thinkers. They asked each one to say which, when you visit any city, what part of that city you want to visit. I asked you now, which part do you want to visit? You have to. So, most of the Westerners from the US, I want to buy street food. Some will say, I want to go to beach. Some will say, I want to go to waterfront. And one professor from South Africa, a lady said, I want to go to toilet. And what do you, all of us were like, you want to go to toilet? And she said, yes, that's how I will know how hygienic that city is. That's how I will consider whether the government reports published by Ministry of Health and Environment are correct. I want to see it. So I learned that one. Then they divided us into Zoom rooms. In fact, we used that time, we were using email, we were using Zoom, we were using Slack, we were using View at the same time. Some of these devices are new to you, right? Like Miro and Slack. So, inside that room, we were divided into 4. So, inside that room, you should have your pen, your pen. And before that, they asked each one of us to submit one paper that he has published before. So everyone can read $100. So when you enter that room, your task is to tell, is to briefly in 3 minutes say anything about what you have put up. While you are doing that, one person is jotting down facts. What are facts from what you are saying? What are feelings? And what are values? So from that, when you finish, this will be the result that I meant to you. And then you hear from your homework. What is value? Feelings? And you represent. So these are devices very, very critical for critical thinking. I will use some of them as we go. And you know what? Talking about Kano, you know, Kano is a pretty, very interesting city. And I have one statement. And I hope the people of Kano will forgive me. I'm also from Kano. So I said, if of Kano are not Muslims, if the people of Kano are not Muslims, and if the people of Kano are whites like British, then they may be super racist and supremacists. If we are white, why do I say this? So any other city set aside, only Kano is a city, right? Is that not being supremacist? Gariba Kano Badajin Allah. And you know there is other story. when we were kids, they were telling us, especially women, they told us, da, Kaaba comes sai mala'iku suka ɗauko Ka'aba tsakanin da da goron dutse za su ajiye ta kenan sai suka ga karuwa da kare shine suka kula. This is what the people of Kano, many of us who grew up in the city know this, right? So you can see, as far as the people of Kano are concerned, they don't care even about Sokoto when they say Gariba Kano Godajin Allah. And you know what? This is common with the poor, with the scholars, with the royalty. Look at Shatta. When Shatta said, "Come on, Medina," they started giving us money, women, because the real Medina of the prophet is there. So now Kano is saying, "Okay, since Shatta, since the Kache, Kano Medina Kache, will give you." Can you see this sense? These, whether are feelings, but they are not facts, isn't it? As far as we as Muslims, we know these are not facts. But these are interesting expressions that are telling you how valuable the people of Kano hold the city. But paradoxically, the people of Kano are very inclusive. Very, very inclusive and cosmopolitan. I'm sure Professor Salisu from Bauchi is now more from Bauchi because he has already drunk his wells from Kano. So he has transformed himself now into Kano. So that is, and now Kano and Maka, they said that, forget about the story of Kaaba that Akakoma, right? Okay. The issue is more that, scientifically speaking, Kano is well connected to Mecca and to Kaaba. I'm not saying Mecca, I'm saying Kaaba. They are well connected. And this is proven by no one but by a staff of NASA in the United States. Now, in 1980s, late 1980s, Heidi Nast, photographer from McGill University in Canada, came to Kano to conduct fieldwork for her PhD. And she stayed in the Kano Palace. And the late Emir of Kano, Aliyu, allowed her to go in and interact with his families until the end of her work. And then one day she was interviewing some people inside the palace. And what is over? I didn't say that Kaaba. As a researcher, whatever you hear, you jot, you put it down. It will be important for you. So when Hadinas had that, doesn't have connection with Kaaba, she put it in her belly. And after she finished her PhD, by that time she took all the azimuth readings of the palace and took them back to the United States. And she contacted Boni, who worked at NASA Institute in Arizona State University of Arizona. So reading out what he said. No, she asked him. She went back to her diary, took the reading to him. I said, okay, please tell me more about this. I have this guy saying this and that about Kano and Kaaba. Please tell me what is the truth of the matter. And what I'm reading out is quoted from a 1996 article published in Annals of the Association of American Geographers. And it goes like this. This is the response that she got. I am therefore extremely grateful to Michael Bonin of the University of Arizona for verifying this for me. In recent letter, Bonis writes, I calculate the direction of Mecca, the great cycle route from Kano to Mecca as 68 degrees 30 minutes. Now, as to the palace, so I cut what is more direct. So what is quite apparent is that the entire palace complex is oriented in this same Qibla direction, as well as the outer city wall. We have an azimuth region of 70 on the southern wall closest to the entrance, 75 on that next outer palace wall, and note that the long walls are basically at right angles to these. He goes on to express surprise at the exactitude of the orientation, something typically not encountered in North Africa until the 18th century. Even in North Africa, they didn't have this technology, unless 18th century. But Kano Palace was built in the 14th century, right? If I'm correct. 14th century. So what happened? I want to visit the first mosque built there because it is the one of Sisa and the Taqwa in Awaliyah, right? That's what I think. So I asked them, they said, okay, that one is at Checkfield. I said, okay, after closing, that time, the time for iftar was 9:20 p.m. So I had time. After 6, I traveled to that mosque. And there, I entered the mosque. I saw its name, Ilham Mosque. I entered it and I found, let's go up. That's me with Sheikh Abul Haq Diuli. Up there, up please. Go up again. Continue going. This is down. Until you see 2 persons, hapless persons, Marasahula. Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's very good. MashaAllah, fantastic. And that is me. And the person sitting close to me is Sheikh Abdul Haq Diuli. He converted to Islam in 1968 and then moved to Morocco to study Islamic studies. So when I entered, not so many people inside this mosque. And we greeted. He told me, oh, where are you from? I said, from Nigeria. Oh, mashallah, from Nigeria. Do you know Kano? Okay. He said, I was in Kano. And
He gave me books. You know, Your Highness, you know that's in prayer. So he calculated that also. They have that. And he gave me one siri and said, you know what? He said, you know, Morocco was never occupied by Spain, though they were very close, right? And they made so many attempts. He said, I will tell you one of the secrets. It's one powerful prayer. And he shared with me. But it is not shareable. So when I met him, he asked me, he said, do you know Nasiru Kabara? I said, yes. He started calling names of ulama in Kano. Privileged to be Islam, to be Muslim. And he told me that all his parents were not Muslims. But he said, his mother died, and then he always tried to visit his mother's friend in London. And if he visits his mother's friend, she would take him in this London bus. They would go around London, discuss everything, and then he goes back to his place. And one day he told his mother's friend that, I have a feeling that's one. Inside me, he told his mother's friend, I have a feeling that God is one. And that's how eventually Allah blessed him to become Muslim in a very interesting way. So we take Islam for granted here, that my father is a Muslim, my mother is a Muslim. No, there it is a big task. This mosque was actually a church destroyed by Hitler. Hitler destroyed the church during the Second World War. And then it remained like that until in 1980s, when they were moving around, they didn't have any place. When they met one Moroccan man, he saw them and he said, I saw the Nur of Islam in you. They said, yeah, we are Muslims. Why is your mosque? He said, we don't have mosque. Ah, you don't have mosque? Yes. He said, do you know what? My mother is very rich, and her dream in this world is to build a mosque. But in Morocco, it is only a king who builds a mosque. Only a king. So now she bought this old church and converted it to a mosque for them. But one thing very interesting that happened, mentioning of Kano is very interesting. Another one, he gave me a book called The African Caliphate. He said, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, the last genuine Islamic movement was the one by Usman Danfodio. Yes, this is happening in the UK. But the last interesting part was, I told you that it was during Ramadan. So around 8:30 p.m., then some youths came back. More than a dozen youths entered the mosque with their sports wear, with their cricket material. They were from cricket during Ramadan. They were not in tafsir places. In the UK, they don't stay in the mosque. They go and play cricket during Ramadan. But this is da'wah. Yes, that is their mode of da'wah, through sports. Usually they will invite cricket clubs, the town, and say, let's go and pray. So let's go and play cricket. After they finish around Dab the Sherua, then they will tell them, you know, we are fasting. Can you follow us to our mosque? We are going to break our fast. And say, okay, let's go though, let's go. And they will go to the mosque. They will eat together, break the fast. And most of the time, 2 days, this guy will come back, I want to be a Muslim. I want to be a Muslim, I want to be a Muslim. That's how I saw many new Muslim converts who are of Nigerian origin. Their parents were church leaders in Nigeria and the UK. but their children converted to Islam in the UK through this mosque. The mosque that associates itself with Kano. So I'm just taking you, if I'm talking about the Ascent, Kano has gone high and is well recognized all over the world. Now, this slide is very interesting. What you can see here, the one at the right is a sketch map of Kano in 1826. That's how Kano looked. The built-up area almost at the center, you can see two circular things there representing Dala and Goron Dutse in 1826. 1826. And the other map is, this one is a